Hey there guys, we're going to be going back to the Laguna crown fight. Now some of you asked me to do this fight, what if you don't have Laguna? So we're going to be going back and getting a clear. So the boss is a dragon, it's resistant to dark, earth, and fire. The other elements are okay. You cannot take a friend, and you are locked to Final Fantasy VIII units only. So this is the party we're going to use. I've cleaned up my rotation slightly from the previous clear, and we have dropped Laguna, and we're going to use Squall as our breaker instead. Now obviously he's not as good of a breaker, but it's still going to be totally fine, especially because, like I said, I cleaned up my rotation. So here is the team we're going to go with. I'll show you the gear in a moment, but let's get in here and give it a go. So start off, we're going to have a lot of auto casting. Wait for that to finish. Okay, Squall will use one of the breaker materials. It doesn't matter which one. Earth Breaker, Dark Breaker, Light Breaker, Thunderbird, any of them to break by 85%. Now I know Selphie can break by 85% as well, but for her on turn 1, we want her using her skills on other stuff. So we're going to use Wall for mitigation. We're going to use Slot for the higher chance to unlock her good skills. We're going to use Intense Wardera, that I forgot to do in my previous clear. And we're going to do Boost for the immunity and stat buff. Zell on, not yet actually. Rinoa will do her shifted LB on turn 1. Now I also have seen a lot of comments, what if I don't have Rinoa? That's a harder problem to solve. I'm going to work on that another time. Adia will use her LB on turn 1 for the weapon imperils. And then Zell is going to use Power to Destroy Nephesite. That is going to seal so that the boss cannot use Reflect on turn 1, because that would really mess us up. So there's the Reflect, but it's actually been Nephesited, so the boss does not have Reflect. So there's some fire damage, etc. Not too big of a deal. As long as you're breaking the boss, the damage he does is pretty minor. Like as you can see, most of the party doesn't have any fire resist other than the 50% that Selphie gives with her wall buff. But there you go. So this turn, Squall will go ahead and use Tybus' Spirit. He's going to use his SLB next turn for some bonus damage. Now we're going to use Tornado on these two units. We're going to quad Tornado on Edea. Quad Tornado on Rinoa, shift form. Zell from Esper will Erinny's Ring and quad Wardera. And Selphie will always check for skills were unlocked. They never unlock in my videos. It's horrible. It's a 5% chance per turn to unlock Catastrophe or the End. And those are her 1200 modifier skills that she can quad cast. It's only a 5% chance per turn, but as I'm going to show you, you don't need those. As long as your gear is good, you can do it with her regular old plain skills. So we're going to just use Furious Water. Now, if your skills did unlock, the End is the name of her water skill, you want to use that one because that'll deal dramatically more damage, like 4 times higher damage. And you'll kill this boss very easily. But if you don't have it, as you can see, we're still going to be okay. So we're going to chain the Tornadoes and the Bolting Strikers. Get some damage going on right here. Now, we don't have a good break on the boss yet, only an 85% Spirit Break. We're going to get better next turn with Squall's SLB. So this turn, Demi, some physical stuff we evade, and then a fire attack that we immune with Zell. I'll show you the gear in a moment. Okay, this turn, our Squall's SLB is ready. We're not going to use the SLB on Edea. It's Dark Lock. The boss is very dark resistant. We're not going to bother. So we're going to use the SLB of... We're just going to reload everyone. SLB of Squall. Just for curiosity, did her skills unlock? Of course they did not. Nope. Selphie is very, very... Well, she unlocked Wall again, which is nice, but... Wall and Full Cure have a 35% chance per turn, so they actually frequently unlock. Anyway, so we're going to click Squall first in this, and then we're going to chain the rest to cap him. Because clicking Squall first gives us an 87% Spirit and Defense break. So we click Squall, we click the others, and we go ahead and cap that up real quick. Squall's damage is pretty bad, as you can see, but... You know, the boss is almost dead. Now, here we go on turn 3. We are going to get a breath here. Breath is a little painful, not really. As long as you've broken the boss and you used Wall on turn 1, breath shouldn't really do that much. Okay, so if we had unlocked selfie skills previously, the boss would be dead already. We've never unlocked them yet. Just for curiosity, are they unlocked this turn? No. I do promise you, the skills do exist. It's just a 5% chance, and they're very, very rare. And if you're struggling on the fight, you might have to just rerun this fight over and over and over and over until they finally unlock for you, and you can start doing like 4,500 modifier chains. But, you know, you don't need to. So for this one, Squall's regular LB is bad frames. We're not going to use it. We're going to just have him swap over to Bolting Strike chaining. And we're going to chain it up. Again, Tornado and Bolting Strikers. And there it is. There is the end of the Ruby Dragon with no Laguna. Well, I'll show you the damage breakdown in a second. I do have to tell you the damage breakdown is going to be Renoa doing the majority of the damage. She is a Neovision's base unit. Mine does happen to be EX3. You don't need to be EX3 on a Renoa. EX2 is totally fine. EX1 is a little trickier just because you wouldn't have her LB ready on the first turn. There are ways around that, but it would definitely be trickier to do it that way. Yeah. So Renoa definitely carries this encounter, so not having her would be pretty hard. Selfie didn't do very great. She never got her skill unlocks, which kind of sucks. And she has a 5-star unit. Renoa, wow, that's a pretty big damage disparity. But I'll show you the gear real quick. One thing you could do, now that I'm thinking about it, if you have an EX1 Renoa, you could make a second selfie that's EX2 and start with her LB. Replace Zell with a second selfie. Have the second selfie entrust Renoa on turn 1. You would have to make a second EX2 selfie to do this, which is why I don't really want to do it for a video, but you could. So replace Zell with a second selfie, make her a provoker and all, or make Squall the provoker because his damage is garbage anyway. Entrust the Renoa on turn 1 to do her LB, and then that selfie on turns 2, 3, and 4 could quad cast the water skills to match up with your own selfie. It would also give you a second chance or a second unit that may unlock the good skills, so that could help. Anyway, here's the party that we use. So Squall, I forgot the damage breakdown. I'm sure his was very low. He's really, really old. He was geared for damage, technically speaking. There it is. Typhus' Spirit, a Breaker Materia, Dragon Killer, LB damage. I think his damage was like less than 1 billion, so really, honestly, I could have just dropped him. But he was a Breaker. He was the Breaker, and that's kind of important. He was maxed on everything. He's just old. That's all. Zell is our passive provoker, using Sword of Kings to stop the reflect on turn 1. Other than that, you want 100 wind and 100 fire resist. Actually, you only technically need 50 to each because we're using a buff. So 50 wind, 50 fire, full evasion, passive provoke, and then Irene's Ring to quad cast chaining skills. And there is the build we used. Selfie is a double hand build using one of the weapons that Adia imperils against Dragon Killer. I did fix her build so that now she does have proper Dragon Killer. So Dragon Killer is at 250, still not maxed out, but there it is. Adia is maxed on Dragon Killer, and here is her build. We're using Barbaricious Bangles for the Tornado modifier buff, and Dragon Killer, Chain Up, etc. And then Renoa in the shift form is definitely the big carry here. You want to go get her crowns, get her Chronicle weapon, Barbaricious Bangles, give her the best Clash gear, give her the Dragon Killer, give her all the good stuff. And there it is, and then she is at max Dragon Killer. Okay, so there's the Laguna crown fight without Laguna. Hope it helps. See you in a bit.